Hey everybody, it's Jim here, and if you've been on Reverb lately or any other online musical retailer, the odds are you have seen that these Squier 40th anniversary guitars have been pretty heavily discounted, as low as $299 brand new, down from their initial cost of $599. Now, I've already done a demo of this guitar in its stock form. If you're interested and you hadn't seen that, you could click up here. But in today's video, I'm going to talk about some modifications I did to this guitar that may help you if you decide you want to modify one of these instruments. Some things that will work, some things that you might need to replace, as well as my overall thoughts on if I thought that this is something that was worthwhile. Now, full disclosure, this is not going to be a full demonstration video of how this guitar sounds in its current form. There will be one clip at the very end of the video where I do play it for a little bit. However, for the most part, strictly an informative video. Now, to begin with here, the first thing that you need to do when you're going to do any modification on a guitar, you need to take the current strings off. And this is where we led into the first kind of issue, and that was these ferrules right here. Now, as you can tell by the pictures, 3 of the 6 ferrules fell out entirely just from taking the original strings that came on this guitar off of this guitar. The remedy to this was pretty simple. I just applied a little dabs of wood glue on each of the affected areas, let them sit in properly, added in some pressure, wiped off any excess that came off, and that was pretty much it. Now, after I removed the strings, it led me to the second thing that I wanted to do, which was to replace the pickups. The one thing you have to do if you want to replace the pickups on a Telecaster, you got to remove this bridge. While this bridge was off, I wanted to see and test out these Callahan compensated brass saddles, and unfortunately, these will not fit in to the stock bridge because the diameter of these are too small. You could ream it and enlarge the holes so that these would fit, but if you didn't want to do that, or you didn't have the tools or the confidence to do it yourself, just know if you wanted to use something like this, you would have to buy an entirely different bridge plate, which leads us into the electrical components themselves, because the pickups, this is a very easy swap. Single coil, single coil. The neck actually will accommodate a variety of different pickup sizes, which I think is pretty cool. But the next issue we had were the pots. I wanted to put in full-size CTS pots, and unfortunately, the stock plate would not fit them. So in order to fit those full-size CTS pots, I ended up going with a control plate that I knew would fit them, and I'm happy to report that it actually fit the guitar, as you can see, very well, and there was no issues with that. The last thing I want to tell you here is, while I was there, this is not specific to just this guitar. I would recommend every single person who does any sort of electrical upgrade on their Telecaster, no matter the brand or the price, you put in one of these. This is an electrosocket jack. It screws in on the 2 sides. It makes life so much easier. It's just a huge upgrade for a little amount of money. I think they're anywhere between $6 to $12 brand new. Well worth it. And the pickups I decided to go for were these TV Jones star wound single coils because I found them used on Reverb. The set was actually less than the price of one individual pickup if I was going to be buying them brand new. I thought it would be pretty cool to kind of experiment. I've never had them before, and also it doesn't hurt that the aesthetic kind of works really well with the rest of the guitar. So electronics wise and all that, just know you might have to switch some things around. You might have to sacrifice the control plate. Again, highly recommend putting in the electrosocket jack. And the bridge itself, there was no real problems with it. It was more out of curiosity how it would sound with the Callahan brass saddles. They're not going to fit any of the full size or American spec saddles of that kind of nature if you do want to do that with the stock bridge that comes with it. Now, after I had the electronics all soldered in correctly and ready to go, the next thing I wanted to do was obviously restring the guitar and get it set up as best that I possibly could. The very first issue that I had, though, was something that I find very common in this kind of price range of guitars. The nut was not terribly cut, but there were a few grooves in particular that were not even close, so it led to a very uneven playing experience. Luckily for me, I do have the StewMac nut files, and I have done this enough times where I feel confident in my own work to achieve a good playing experience and a good height at the actual nut itself. It's vital that you don't cut too deep down. You got to go very slow when you do this, otherwise you're going to be taking this out and putting an entirely brand new one. However, with that being said, if you don't have files or you don't have the confidence to do that, maybe price that in as something that you may want to see a technician to have them file it down perfectly for you. And while we're at the headstock here, I just want to talk about these tuners real quick. These are the factory tuners, not because I didn't have another set that I could have thrown in here, but because I feel they're adequate as is and not something that I would rush out or plan on replacing on this guitar. And the last thing about this guitar that I want to talk about before I give you my kind of breakdown of how much all of this cost me and what I think about this guitar, especially after having all of these upgrades. These frets are not perfectly level. If you're somebody that is going to want them like pristine, factor that in as well. A fret level shouldn't cost you more than 40 or 50 bucks if you're going to a decent technician, and it's something that will make a big difference in the way that your guitar plays. However, these are absolutely adequate. There's no real dead spots on the guitar, and I was still able to achieve an action that I find very comfortable and playable without any dead spots or choking. Now, we have a nice set of pickups in this guitar. I made this wiring harness myself. I spent, I think, $7 on the jack, $120 on the pickups, and the guitar was under $300. So for under $500, considering I did all of this work for myself, what do I think about this guitar? First is, I mentioned this in the original review, this is really heavy for a Telecaster, and I know I'm actually fortunate. I've seen some of these weigh over 9.5 pounds, but to me, this is in Les Paul category, weighing over 8.5 pounds. It's just like, feels kind of strange for a Tele to me. But as far as the actual feel and neck, this is by far the best part of the guitar, both in the shape of it and the actual smoothness of it. They really did a great job with that. And that's one of the reasons that kind of led me to say, you know what, I'll experiment with some parts that I have lying around, and I will put in some elbow grease to try and upgrade this thing and see how it ends up being, because if I really like a guitar neck, I'm more willing to put the time and effort into it to kind of optimize other areas of the instrument, so to speak. But is this a fantastic guitar? I mean, that's in the eye of the beholder, but to me, no, I don't think that this is a fantastic guitar, even with all the upgrades on it. I think it's a very serviceable guitar. I think that if you compare this to what you would be able to get for $500 10, 15, 20 years ago, yeah, this is really, really solid. And considering that these are so widely available, I think it's a very positive thing here. There are no glaring weaknesses with this guitar, in my opinion. I think it's good. It's solid. If you're somebody who wants a Telecaster or a Jazzmaster or a Strat or any other of the models that are available with the 40th anniversary, and you're on a budget, this is an absolutely wonderful way to be able to get one of those guitars. But make no mistake, when I sit and I play this and then I switch and I play the JV Telecaster, not the reissue, the actual JV Telecaster, it is a completely different playing experience. And for somebody like me, that makes a difference. For somebody like you, it might not matter whatsoever. But I just wanted to give my opinion on that, because at the end of the day, it kind of is what it is, and I really do feel the little things when it comes to how a guitar is put together and all the thought and details that go into it. I mean, we got ferrules falling out. You're gonna have to do all sorts of work to get common parts to be able to fit, but again, budget guitar at a very friendly price. If you are somebody competent and confident in being able to do these modifications, by all means, have fun with it, enjoy the process, and yeah, I actually think this does sound pretty good. If you found this helpful, useful, or informative, please let me know in the comments down below. You can support the channel just by hitting the like button. Seriously, it does make a difference. Subscribe if you haven't already and you do enjoy this content, and I'll see you on the next one. I'm going to play out now. Take it easy.